I still don't have a replacement motorcycle for the Triumph Rocket 3 Classic. In fact, the only reminder, the little keepsake of that bike is this little leather Triumph key fob that I took at the time. This isn't a video where I wheel out a new bike and say, hey, I've replaced it, you know, new bike reveal. It's more a video about my rationale and reasoning for the next bike and why I am going the direction of downsizing. So quick recap for you, if you haven't watched the videos. I took the Rocket 3 Classic on a dream trip up to the North Cape, and I deliberately took this bike knowing full well that it was hideously unsuitable for such a task. It was horribly heavy, unstable on rough roads, it drank fuel, gave out a lot of heat, and manoeuvring the thing on anything other than a perfectly smooth asphalt surface was a nightmare. The trip ended in really the way you would kind of expect, given my experience up until that point. It ended in disaster. An HGV rolled back, crushed the Rocket 3. I jumped out of the way. Luckily, I'm fine. But the bike is no more. And the question of what replaces the Rocket is quite a stark one, because it's not a replaceable bike. And you know, these Rockets are unique. There's nothing that gives the same experience as a Rocket. They are a cult bike. They're an exceptional bike, but they're not the bike for me anymore. And I've just got to be honest with myself that I've got to downsize. The first requirement for my new bike is undoubtedly low purchase price. So we're talking a budget of £3,500. So the money I get from the insurance payout, which hopefully will be more than 3.5 grand for the Rocket, I'm going to take 3.5 grand out of that pot and put that into the new replacement bike. The rest of it, I'm keeping the money. And that is something that you need to hold me to. I've said 3.5 grand. If I come back on here with a bike that's 4.7 or 5.5 grand, say, Sean, you're telling porcupines, because you said it was 3.5 grand. So it's 3.5 grand, come what may. Point two, what is my everyday riding? And this is the interesting thing about what you have in your head and your kind of mental picture of who you are as a rider versus what you actually do. So day to day, I am a sort of 20-mile bimbler. I pop out to the shops, I go and get my hair cut in Bideford, I run errands for Suze. I basically do all that on a motorcycle. I'm not riding to the Alps, and I might go to the Alps once a year, but how many more rides are in the first category versus the dramatic kind of big adventure style motorcyclist image that I had in my head? It's probably 100 to 1. Maybe even more than that. And so I've had to come to terms with why I went down the big, shiny, flashy bike route. And it's ego. And that's the thing I've just really come to a realization about. I've preached on the channel, small capacity, cheap thrills, do what you can with what you've got, and that's the fun. That is the truth. Yeah, I went down the road with this big bike and I kind of justified it to myself in the following ways, really. It was a very good price, so I got a lot of bike for the money. I thought, wow, it'll be good for the channel. It's a big showy bike, you know, you can talk about 2.3 litre engine, and it's a one in a class of one, isn't it, a Rocket? Nothing competes with it. And I said all this stuff, just like mental chatter, and you've had it before and it was fine and everything. And in reality, the usefulness of a small bike is just blows the Rocket away. Even given all the high points of the Rocket, a small bike is just far, far better. I mean, let's look at the practicalities of it as well, or the impracticalities, whichever way you want to cut it. A Rocket, rear tyre, £280 for a Metzeler 888. The oil capacity of a Rocket is over 5 litres, whereas a little bike, you're talking about 1.5 litres or something for a 200 or a 350. Those hero bikes, I think, are 1.3 litres to do a complete oil change. Servicing the Rocket's expensive, parts of the Rockets are expensive. If you've got a problem like a gearbox issue with the Rocket, you're looking thousands for somebody to tear it apart and rebuild it, which I obviously can't do. And small bikes just have all of the polar opposites of that. And you've just got to give up the ego of having a bike that's got a 2.3 litre engine, or a bike that can do 180 miles an hour, or a bike that can accelerate in 2.8 seconds to 60. You just give up the ego of that, because most of that stuff you can't use anyway, as I found out from my speeding fine, which, by the way, did actually come through in the post. So I'm banged to rights. They found me. They've tracked me down to the UK, 300 quid fine. And if I was on a small capacity bike, I wouldn't have that issue. So it's just a kind of realization that I got sucked into the ego trap of having a big bike, and I'm not going to let that happen again. Right, whilst we chat about potential replacement bikes, I'm just going to change the battery on the BSA, because I've found out that with this battery, it'll do its normal sweep of the clocks, but the rev counter seems to be flickering on and off, and if you try and start the bike, it just clicks. So I think there's a battery issue. The reason I know that is because when I put a jump pack on, everything behaves as normal. So I think the battery is just on its way out. Right, I've gone for a like for like replacement battery. I usually use BS batteries, but the factory battery, which is one of these Yuasa batteries, is actually cheaper than the BS battery for this particular specification. So I decided just to go for the original fitment, which BSA recommends anyway. Just pop that in there. Now, I don't know which one you attach first. I think it's negative, isn't it? Because you don't want the bike or the battery to accidentally ground. So I think you put the negative on first. Right, the moment of truth. Nice strong prime with the fuel pump. Let's start dropping names. Good options under the £3.5 budget. Hero X-Pulse, X-Pulse 200 Pro. You could have both of those new if you wanted, but ideally lightly used. You've got the Vosges 300 Rally on a pre-reg deal, £3.5. You've got the BSA Bantam 350, you've got Royal Enfield 350s. You might be able to scrape a Triumph 400, slightly higher mileage one. I'm probably not going to go for those options because I've already got a BSA, and the Royal Enfield 350s with the thumper engine, 200 kilos, and the kind of stylistically, they overlap too much with this bike, the BSA 650. So I'm looking for something slightly left field. I like to have a bike that not many other people have. Makes it a total pain in the bum to resell it. I just like to be different. It's just one of my things. Hold my hands up. You've got some great sort of 40 horsepower options from the Chinese. You've got the Vosges 350 AC, the little yellow bike. I've done a video on it. One of the best bikes I've ever ridden. I love that little bike, 165 kilos wet, perfect little thing. Mark Pulling actually bought one, and that says a lot because he's ridden a lot of bikes and he chose to buy a 350 AC. Sontes do a little 350, very, very good, very nimble, a lot of technology on there, backlit switch gear and the like, but beautiful, powerful motor. And to be honest, it blows, in terms of its performance, not its character, it blows the Royal Enfield 350s away. But then it occurred to me that you've got the 350 class, but you've also got 125s. And I thought to myself, I've never had a 125, and I've always thought 125s are learner bikes. But 125s are available for under the budget of £3.5. You can get 125 in every single flavour of motorcycle, from adventure to modern classic to cruiser to retro to sports, naked. Everything can be had in 125 form. You can even get V-twin 125s for the sort of character of the engine. Keyway, V-Cruise, that's it. And so I thought my maximum speed around here doesn't even need to be more than 60 miles an hour. So 125s are very much on the radar. Now, I haven't actually got the small capacity bike yet, so I can't give you the here's what surprised me, here's what changed in my motorcycling life. But I can give you my expectations of what's going to change based on perhaps my own experience, because I had a Meteor 350 in 2021, way back in the day. I only had it for a short few months, but it did give me some insight into what small capacity bikes are all about. And I've watched YouTube like everybody else. You know, I've seen people on 125s and the Hero X-Pulses and whatnot, traveling and riding, and I kind of learned from their experience. I think I'm going to ride more, which is brilliant. I think day to day, the act of getting out of the house, putting riding gear on, getting the bike out and riding, and then getting the bike back, cleaning it, putting it away, I think all of that's going to be easier and less stressful. That's what I'm hoping. I can't say categorically because I haven't got the bike yet, but I think I'm going to be worried less and riding more. You know, not worried about where it gets parked, not worried about how dirty it is, not worried about putting fuel in the thing all the time. So I think these are going to be the advantages that are going to be there day in, day out. And I'm quite looking forward to that, to be honest. By the same flip of the coin, I also have to acknowledge that big bikes and big engines have some advantages, and I'm going to lose out by giving up those things. Now I'm downsizing, okay? So let's make no bones about it. I'm going from 2.3 litre engine potentially down to a 125cc engine. Is that like a factor of 20? I mean, that makes me the king of downsizing, doesn't it? I am, however, not one of those ideological downsizers who sort of hates big bikes and has to have an engine under 300 cc's. I think that big bikes are great at certain things. So I'm going to lose, for example, motorway cruising ability. It's going to be a real pain in the bum going down the motorway on a 125, screaming its nuts off at 60 miles an hour. In fact, I'm going to have to cruise at 50 because I hate wringing the neck of a bike. I don't like to go flat out. Also, luggage carrying is going to be such a pain to weigh the bike down. It's going to really feel the extra weight. I guess I've got the pan to fall back on, so if this goes disastrously wrong and I'm like, oh, this is so annoying, I can fall back on the pan. And that kind of gives me a little bit of comfort because I'm not really a big bike person, but like a tiny part of me is, if that makes any sense. So I'm probably like 90% small capacity and 10% I like a big capacity bike. And I don't think that's the ego thing we talked about earlier, especially with the pan, because nobody in their right mind would buy a pan to show off in 2026. So that's where we've landed. And I'm not saying, definitely not saying that small bikes are better and you all have to do as I'm doing. It may be the case that I go back to big bikes at some stage, and I am quite like a fluid. my interest goes from this to that to the other. It's just that I have to be honest with myself about what's the bike to buy when we're here in North Devon. And sadly, it's not another Rocket 3. So thank you for listening to the video. If you've got any suggestions about small bikes, maybe you had something that was absolutely cracking, then jot it down, because I'm still open at this point in time and anything could happen. It's quite fun. Small budget, it doesn't feel like stressful going ahead and buying it. It feels light, it feels fun. Hopefully it'll be great for the rest of the summer and the autumn, and I'll be able to make some good videos about it. Just be something fun, a little bit left field, a little bit different. All right guys, I'll see you in the next one.